Hello and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on Harvest, a game designed by Trey Chambers and published by Keymaster Games, the publisher who brought us Parks. Before we get into my thoughts on the game, I'm going to give a brief gameplay overview. Now, Harvest is a worker placement game where you are going to be placing out your wheelbarrows in 3 locations each round to do various things as you seek to plant and harvest crops and build out your farm in an attempt to score the most points by the end of the game. The game plays over 4 rounds. At the beginning of each round is the sunrise phase, where you will select a sunrise tile which will give you coins and another benefit as listed on the tile. These tiles also determine player turn order for the round, with the stronger benefits going to those who will go later in turn order. You also have a sunrise benefit on your player board chosen from 2 tiles at the beginning of the game. You may also have a sunrise benefit from your asymmetric character chosen at the beginning of the game as well. After the sunrise phase is completed, players take turns placing workers and taking the benefits of the chosen location. Many locations can only support 1 worker per space, with the spaces that include the infinity symbol allowing multiple people to go there. Going to the general store allows a player to take 1, 2, or 3 actions depending on which space visited that focus around buying seeds, filling your water bucket, or getting fertilizer. If you fill your water bucket, then you will raise your water token to the space just under your water bucket, which starts at 3, but can be raised through a few locations and abilities. The next option is to go to the farmer's market, which has a printed space on the board and 3 tiles added to the top, which will be removed each round. There is a second, smaller section of the farmer's market which is only used in a 4-player game. There are also quite a few different options for actions depending on which tile comes up there. Your next option is to go to the fields, where you can spend fertilizer to plant seeds in the field on your player board, spend water to 10 seeds on your player board, which allows you to duplicate those seeds if you have space next to the seeds that you have planted, and harvest, which has you remove all plants in your fields to score victory points. A single fields action allows you to either plant, water, or harvest all that you are able to do. Going to the 2 or 3 action spots will allow you to do 2 or 3 actions, plant and tend and harvest, harvest and plant, plant, tend and harvest for 3 actions, and so on. Now, going to the 3 action space does require spending coins equal to the current round number, and going to the 1 action space grants you a single water or a fertilizer. Then you have the trading post, which allows you to trade in a seed or 2 fertilizer or 3 water to either take a fields action, clear land, or upgrade a seed and get a coin. You can do this once or twice depending on which space you go to. Finally, you have the workshop action, which allows you to do 1, 2, or 3 different actions out of spending a coin to increase your water bucket capacity, spend 2 coins to clear a forest space off of your player board, allowing for planting or building on more spaces, and rolling a die to gain a benefit, or buying a building for the cost listed to the right of the buildings. Buildings are placed on your open field spaces on your board and will limit your planting space, but provide endgame points and some immediate one-time benefits that can be quite helpful. When you clear a forest tile, it will flip over and be placed in the highest possible building row of the workshop to become a purchasable building. After all players have done 3 worker placement actions, play moves to the sunset phase, where players get their workers back. Buildings in the workshop shift down to make them cheaper, with the bottom row going away. A new farmer's market tile is revealed, and 3 new sunrise tiles are drawn. Play continues for 4 rounds. Points are gained in game for harvesting, and at the end of the game, players will score 1 point per seed in their field at the end of the game. Points for buildings, generally 2 points per building, plus extra points based on the building text. 2 points per blueberry bush in their field, and 1 point per every 2 coins. And the player with the most victory points wins the game. Now let's get into the game review, starting with art and components. The art and components are great. Now keep in mind I have the golden edition, which is even nicer, but even the base game components are good quality. The golden edition comes with metal coins, which are really nice, as well as wooden seeds instead of just the cardboard seeds. You have a wooden round tractor as well, whereas the standard edition comes with cardboard versions of these components. The wooden components are very nice, especially the upgraded seeds that come with the Golden Edition. The Standard Edition comes with wooden wheelbarrows for workers still, wooden water droplets, wooden fertilizer tokens, and wooden victory point tracker buttons. With the Kickstarter edition, we also got wooden animeeples for 4 out of the 12, with the rest being purchasable as an add-on, which will be available to purchase. These are not necessary components and simply replace the standard wooden wheelbarrows that come with the game and the wooden button that acts as a victory point tracker. The game tray does come with spaces to place these in, which is working against my self-control over buying the pack a little because of the empty spaces staring at me when I open the box. But I do know I don't really need these upgrades. Now the game trays themselves are very nice. They have a place for everything. There's not a lot of wasted space outside of the space for the extra meeples. You can also simply place the resource trays out, which makes setup and teardown so much quicker. They also have a section for an entire player setup, which also makes setup quicker. The cardboard tiles are good quality. The player boards are great quality with this recessed area for your fields and dual layer tracks for your water and your fertilizer tracks. You also have player aid cards, which are very helpful in cards with the starting characters that each have their asymmetric abilities. The cards are all very good quality as well. The art has a very nice old school cartoony style to it, which is very endearing, and the iconography is very clear for the most part, with one exception being the inconsistency with the pay for a building icon. Some of these icons show an acorn symbol to remind you to spend acorns equal to the cost, while others do not have that symbol, potentially leading to confusion over whether you need to pay the cost or are getting a building for free. Note, you will always pay a building's cost regardless of the icon, with the only exception being if you are the character with the power that does not pay building costs. On the other hand, you have Clearing Fields icon with or without a dice on it, and the ones without a dice you do not roll the die, just as one would expect, so there is a little inconsistency there, which I hear they plan to fix for the next printing. Outside of that, my one nitpick when it comes to components is that the Farmer's Market tiles are dual-sided, like this, which I understand is to save space and cost while still providing more options. I just find this awkward when it comes to randomizing the tiles, that not only do you need to shuffle the tiles, but randomly flip some of them over, which I always find a little awkward when games have you randomized that way. At the end of the day, that's not a big deal, and maybe we can figure out a way to aid in this portion of randomization. We could always roll a die for each tile or something like that. Now the components are A++. They are great quality as always from Keymaster Games. This is true whether you get the Standard Edition or the Golden Edition, but I especially recommend the Golden Edition if you can get it for the wooden seeds and those metal coins. Getting the upgraded Animeeples pack really is not as important of an upgrade and can be skipped in my opinion, with little effect on the component quality. Now let's get into ease of play. While this game has a lot to go over as far as the various worker placement spots go, the gameplay itself is not that hard to pick up, and those familiar with worker placement games shouldn't have any trouble learning this game. Perhaps the most complicated part being that going to the general store allows you to buy a single seed per action, whereas taking the fields action you can do multiple seeds or multiple plants per action. Might be a little less than intuitive at first. The rulebook itself is well written and of a good quality, with plenty of pictures and examples to help people understand how to play the game. The iconography is also easy to understand, with that one exception of buy a building icon sometimes missing the red acorn symbol that can be misleading to new players. But a quick explanation that you always pay regardless of the icon having the symbol or not can fix that issue. The rulebook also has a reference guide on the back for all of the icons in that game that can clearly explain those icons, and there's also a write-up for buildings and characters with a little extra information on them in case the tiles and character cards are not clear enough on their own. But I would say most, if not all, are pretty easy to understand on their own. The 1 to 2 player game adds an NPC that gets in your way by placing out workers in spots, which is fairly easy to run as well and only has one small page of instructions on how it works, making it quick to learn. And all you really have to do is pull an extra sunrise tile to determine his turn order, and then flip a tile and place his workers where it says to place them. You flip 2 and place 2 workers in a solo game. Now let's get into the gameplay review itself. I really enjoy the way this game plays. There are a few different things to focus on for scoring points, but the way things come out could change your strategy quite a bit as to what you focus on in the moment. Which sunrise tile you get could shift your priorities for the round. Also, your character and farmhouse tile can change your focus some, or even cause you to not have to be concerned with one area of the board so much and open things up to do other things more. As far as planting and harvesting strategy go, things seem to be overall fairly well balanced when you consider cost versus score, but I can't help but think blueberries is perhaps the strongest overall planting strategy due to the fact that blueberry bushes stay there and yield 4 points each harvest while costing slightly less than pumpkins to plant and 10, and they give you 2 victory points each at the end of the game. Though I admit I cannot help but be tempted to plant those pumpkins for 6 points per pumpkin, which is 24 points for 4 versus 16 points for 4 blueberry bushes. The game also incentivizes you to go after multiple seed types by giving you a coin per different seed type harvested. I also enjoy the tension between placing buildings which will take up precious space on your board but can give you a powerful one-time ability plus 2 endgame points or give you some decent extra endgame points versus having that space to do more planting and harvesting. You also have to focus on clearing land in order to be able to plant more, which will take an action and often cost 2 coins or a trade. I enjoy the efficiency puzzle that is at play as you only have 3 workers per round, so a total of 12 turns to get as much done as possible. This makes spots that give 2 or 3 actions especially important to snatch up quickly if you can fully utilize them. Likewise, some of the farmers market spots can be very valuable as they often give multiple things for one spot or a steep discount for actions. If you want to do multiple actions in a certain area, then it is important to go after those spots early, because if others beat you to them, then you'll have to do the action a little less efficiently. And a couple important places have a spot where any number of workers can go there to do a single action, so while it will be less efficient, you're still not completely blocked out from going to the general store or from doing a fields action by going to the trading post. The game also offers some light polyomino placement as you have various shapes and sizes of seeds to place out on the board, and you often want to figure out a way to be able to place your seeds in a way that they can be duplicated, whether with the space you currently have or after clearing away forest tiles. This requires also a little planning when it comes to the way you place your seeds out on the board. This game does not have huge polyomino game feel to it as you have some very basic shapes that you are placing, but it does require some of that spatial awareness that you find in polyomino placement games. So while this is not a game I would recommend solely on the basis of the polyomino placement aspect, I do find that it does provide some of that satisfaction from the style of game with that primary mechanism being worker placement and resource management. I especially like the solo mode for this game. I enjoy it as a solo game even more than multiplayer due to the solo challenges. First of all, the solo mode is not against an automa, but rather has a simple to run character that simply gets in your way by going to spots on the board, which adds some tension as you want to make sure you go to the most important spots early, because Gary might just beat you to that spot that you want if you wait. This also adds tension when it comes to choosing a sunrise tile. Do you want to be able to place out your worker first before Gary's 2 workers each turn? Or do you want that stronger benefit? Now what makes the solo really shine are the challenges, which often give you a specific character to play as and special rules that change up the game. These challenges make each game feel especially unique with a unique puzzle to solve. There are challenge scores to beat with each of these scenarios. They also offer an easy mode and a hard mode for each scenario. They recommend playing through them all on easy and then playing them all on hard, but I jump straight into hard, seeking the extra challenge. There are 17 of these challenges that are going to keep me coming back to this game solo for a little while, as I am excited to try to beat all 17, and I've already been enjoying the added challenge that they bring to the game. Now let's talk about replayability. While the game will have a fairly similar strategy each game, as the primary focus is going to be planting, tending, and harvesting as much as you can, as efficiently as you can to score points, There's a decent amount of replayability in this game, found in the various buildings that come out and the various farmers market tiles that come out. The asymmetric player powers and asymmetric farm tiles also add some replayability. There are a number of buildings that will not come out each game, and certainly not in the same order, which changes up the game a bit, as well as the way the sunrise tiles come out for various benefits will cause adjustments to strategy from game to game. Also, the various ways you'll have to work around what other players are doing is going to change up your strategy from game to game. I can see a decent amount of replayability coming through the variability in this game, and there's also a decent amount of replayability to the solo game through those 17 challenges, which I could see being played through multiple times, either playing easy and then hard, or just trying them again with the different random elements coming out as well. There's also a beat your own score version of the solo mode, but personally I prefer to face off against those solo challenges, which I feel add way more replayability than a simple beat your own score mode does. Now let's talk about the theme for this game. If you like the farming theme, this game certainly captures this theme well. You have to buy your seeds and get your fertilizer from the store, and then plant them, tend them, and harvest them in order to sell them. There are ways to upgrade your farm through clearing off space and adding buildings. The buildings add some nice theme to the game, as well as you can add a barn to your farm, or add a compost bin, or get a scarecrow or a silo and more to help you out on your farm. Or you can add a cafe or bread and breakfast that can help you to make money, i.e. scoring points. Additional theme can be found in the solo game as you are given scenarios that need to be faced with some story behind them. Now let's get into my final thoughts on this game. I really enjoyed this game. I gave this game a brief first impressions review previously, and as I said in that review, that I was giving the game a multiplayer rating of 8 and a solo rating of 8.5, and the more I think about this game, the more I feel I need to settle on that 8.5 overall, as I feel the scenarios may even boost the solo game even to more than an 8.5, and as I think a bit more on the nice components, especially for the Golden Edition, just elevating the overall game experience even more. So I'm giving this game an official overall rating of 8.5 with all things being considered here. The game has decent replayability through the variety of buildings, farmers market tiles, asymmetric characters and farm tiles, and the way sunrise tiles and other workers blocking spaces are going to force you to adjust your strategy each game. The solo mode adds even more replayability with how the challenges change up the game. The game has a very tight efficiency puzzle to which it makes each action feel like it is important and needs to be maximized. While it does seem like certain seeds are more powerful than others, it also seems they each have their time and place to be used, and they all do have some balancing factors to them, such that I don't feel like just going all in on one seed type every game will ultimately guarantee victory. Still, getting blueberry bushes in seems to be a great strategy which I can never ignore completely, unless a challenge from the solo challenges forces me to ignore them. The art and components really draws me into this game, but the tight gameplay makes me want to stick around and play this game over and over again. If you enjoy worker placement games and light polyomino placement, and the farming theme is one that you can get behind, then I can recommend checking out Harvest for multiplayer or for solo play, but I especially recommend playing those solo challenges because of the extra challenge and variety that they bring to the game. As I said, I give this game an overall rating of 8.5 out of 10. I hope you found this review helpful as to whether this is a game for you or not. I encourage you to check out some of my other videos, and I plan to do a solo playthrough of this game soon, so be on the lookout for that. Until next time, I hope you have a great week and keep on gaming.